live. What's
What's
going
up,
on,
family?
everybody? It's
Peace and
another week,
blessings.
another Sunday.
Yes, indeed.
I hope
X.
everybody had a great Sunday today. You might have went to church with your mom or something for the first time in a minute. Hopefully masked up. Or even if you attended a Zoom service, I just wish everybody well for whatever deity you believe in. I believe in God personally. So prayers to all the cuzzos. It's good to see y'all in here. Today we do have another episode of Sector Sunday Bull vs. Bear. Before we get too far deep into this week, we do have to let folks know what happened last week, AJ.
Yo, talk about history. Like, y'all, when we tell y'all this, like, it's never been this close before. Like, how many votes close, T? Tell them how many votes.
Man, listen, so I kept refreshing till last night. There was a 1 vote difference.
One
One
vote,
vote
y'all.
away from being the tie. One vote
One.
away from the other team, taking it, whatever. But it was only one more vote for the winner. So shout out
Yes.
to both teams last week. I do want to show them much love because that just goes to their credit of the information that they gave where people really couldn't decide who had the best case. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
So, you know,
Facts.
who,
But
but AJ,
we
there was a
got
winner.
to give love to Leah and Dave, y'all. They pulled it
They
through
came
last
through.
week, y'all, with 1 vote. So that just shows you
They
how well
came
Lori
through.
and Sam also did, like T said. So
Mm,
big shouts out to all of y'all. But Leah and Dave move on to the next round.
they going to the championship. They going to
Going
the
to the ship.
championship.
They
Yeah,
going to
that
the
was a
ship.
tough one. I know if we run it back, Lori and Sam might have a bad taste in their mouth. They might need some get back for that. They might need some get back for that. So God bless anybody who got them in any round. You feel me? But yeah, shout out to Leah and Dave.
Yeah.
The championship will be on September 12th. So next week, we might have another session with Q. We might just take a break. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm gonna have to check with him. September 5th, we're for sure taking off. That's Labor Day weekend. Y'all need to get outside, get with y'all families, just enjoy that break. And then September 12th will be the championship. So whoever wins tonight will be facing Leah and Dave on September 12th for bragging rights and maybe something else. You never know. You feel me? Y'all know how this come up stuff go. We be on the fly with it. But yeah, shout out to Leah and Dave. So this week though, we got Micron. So
We
we
got my
got the
baby of
Bulls.
semiconductors. Everybody know you, Lamb, but Micron is my baby of
Yeah.
semiconductors.
Nah, this definitely AJ company. She been on Micron before I even looked at it. You feel me? So we got MJ, we got Kevin. They're doing the bull case. We got my guy David holding down the bear case by himself. So bear is singular this week again. He killed that NNDM. So we doing a Micron. We gonna see how it go this time. I think the Bulls is going first. It's the same format. So if you haven't been here before, each side is going to get 15 minutes each to present their base case. And then we'll have a 3-minute, 2-minute, 1-minute rebuttal for each side. So just make sure y'all paying attention. At the end, we will post the link so you can vote. And for this to work, we need y'all to vote. I know it's difficult. I know sometimes, you might just want to listen, but all it takes is a simple click of who you thought made the better case. You feel me? So outside of that, don't want to waste too much more time. Bulls, whenever y'all ready, whenever y'all start, I'll go ahead and start the clock.
Sounds good. All right, y'all can see my screen?
Yep.
All right, let's get it. All right, so MJ and I will be the Micron Bulls, kind of transforming how the world uses information to enrich life for all. And so what we got going right now, world leader in innovative memory solutions that transform how the world uses info. Over 40 years, They have been instrumental to the world's most significant technological advancements, delivering optimal memory and storage systems for a broad range of applications. Founded in 1978 by Ward Parkinson, Joe Parkinson, Dennis Wilson, and Doug Pittman, Chairman Robert E. Switz, and President and CEO Sanjay Mahatra on the S&P 500 and NASDAQ 100. As we talk about the leadership team, we have several members of the leadership team with over 2 decades of time at Micron, and several who built up SanDisk into becoming an 11-figure acquisition. So as we start with the CEO, Sanjay ran SanDisk from 1988 until it was acquired by Western Digital for $19 billion in 2016, and he himself holds over 70 patents. Manish joined Micron in 2017 and drives the company's end-to-end operations. He's a seasoned vet in the space, as he was the EVP of Worldwide Operations over at SanDisk. And as we hop over to Sumit, nearly 3 decades of experience in the semiconductor industry, held roles at IBM, Freescale, and SanDisk as well, responsible for all 4 business units and strategy within the organization. Some fast facts: employs over 40,000 people globally, top 5 semiconductor company in the world, excluding IP and software sales, holds over 44,000 patents with more on the way. Cash and short-term investments as of Q3 2021, $8.349 billion. Total debt, $6.715 billion. Total long-term debt, $6.418 billion. Market cap just shy of $80 billion. 52-week high, $96.96. The low, $42.25. Current stock price as of last Friday, $70.22. So about 27% off of its 52-week highs. Consistently beat earnings since Q1 2018. Just shy of 80% in institutional ownership and only about 2% in short interest. According to Zacks.com, their PE trailing 12 months about 15. They're committed to allocating 50% of their free cash flow into stock buybacks, and the gross margins just shy of 34%, profit margin 16%. So as we take a look at what the analysts are expecting over the next 12 months, got an average price target of $112. The low estimate, $75, so only a 6% uplift, while the high side, $150. If we look at the June 23s, the $85 call goes for about $923 and about 50% off from their highs when they were first introduced. We take a look at the $100 calls, they're going for about $580, so a little bit over 50% off for when they were introduced. So, I mean, relatively new for the June 2023s, but if we skip through kind of September, October, give quad witching a chance to breathe, might be a great time to scoop up some leads for this company. As we step into memory, kind of the bread and butter, RAM, random access memory, allows your computer to perform many of its everyday tasks, such as loading applications, browsing the web, editing spreadsheets, experiencing the latest games. Memory also allows you to switch quickly among these tasks, kind of remembering where you left off when you're switching between. RAM is used to store information that needs to be used quickly. That means opening any sort of programs, running various programs, or accessing multiple files simultaneously will likely use a lot of RAM. And the CPU chip retrieves data from the RAM. So the chip takes these instructions and begins to move and process that data through the motherboard in their correct order to its next location. We kind of take a look at the revenue split between DRAM and NAND. About 73% of the total revenues come from their DRAM products, with about 24% coming from their NAND revenues, and then the remaining just coming from their other category. Kind of take a look at DRAM, NAND, and NOR. DRAM is a form of volatile memory, must be fed energy every few milliseconds, so the content that is stored will be lost. NAND flash was a form of non-volatile memory, so large files and bits of memory can be stored without worry of data being lost when it's not connected to power. Flash drives, smartphones, digital cameras are a few examples of end-user devices that utilize NAND flash memory. As we look over at NOR flash, another form of non-volatile memory, it's faster read times than NAND flash, but it's slower when it comes to writing or removing data. So NOR flash is a bit more complex, a bit more expensive than NAND, but in a sweeping array of memory and storage solutions, it has its place depending on the needs of the end user.
All right, so now we're going to get into a few of the, the solutions that Micron is working on. First, starting with 5G. So computational photography. So computational photography is basically that, cameras automatically apply settings to create better photos. So there's artificial intelligence that's working in your phone when you're taking a photo. So before you take a photo, the memory is used to process and optimize the image to make for a lag-free experience. When you actually take the photo, the settings that are applied to the photo are gathered from the memory. The multiple photos that are taken are then taken from the memory buffer and are merged to create the perfect shot. So memory is not only is at the heart of 5G, but also an essential component to computational photography. So staying connected with 5G. The way that we live, work, learn, and play has shifted dramatically during the COVID-19 pandemic. Fitness has changed, learning, concerts, business, meetings, telemedicine have all transitioned to becoming more digital. The rollout of 5G, the fifth generation cellular network that features downloading speeds reportedly 100 times faster than that of 5G and about 500 times faster than 3G, is accelerating performance in a time that needs connectivity and bandwidth more than ever. So this dramatic increase in network traffic, as is changing internet service providers, data centers, and infrastructure companies. They have to add more resources to be able to support the huge demand. To keep vast quantities of data moving efficiently for worldwide connectivity, cloud servers and the networks that glue them together need a lot of memory. Today's cloud services offer virtually infinite amounts of capacity to satisfy our escalating needs for video, audio, and live streaming. The need for memory is only going to grow, both in the cloud and at the edge, as up-and-coming technologies like artificial intelligence and virtual reality become more prevalent in data centers and even more on personal devices. So now, moving from 5G to the automotive space, Micron is the only memory and storage manufacturer with a continued 30-year commitment to the automotive market. Automotive applications. Micron's multi-chip memory and storage solutions support the high integration requirements for telematics control units. This enables real-time communication with the infrastructure and other vehicles on the road to enhance the safe operation of vehicles. Also the enriched cabin. So this is the streaming entertainment, driver information, and 3D maps that we see in cars. And also important, autonomous and auto driver's assistance systems. So Micron, DRAM, NAND, and NOR are the heart of the systems that reduce human error. So also powertrain. Micron NOR Flash enables the systems that optimize fuel economy, reduce CO2 emissions, and enable an enhanced active body control. And Micron is also working with BMW in order to help accelerate the autonomous and ADAS systems. So client, streaming, connecting, storing, and amazing. Client applications. So memory options range from form factor, processing power, and battery life to fit your specific needs. So, Micron is helping out in the workstations, desktops, and in desktops, Micron's top-of-the-line DRAM, SSDs, and graphics memory have been speeding up desktop systems better than the rest for 40 years. Laptops, graphics cards. So in graphics card, Micron is the leader in graphics memory used in the top-of-the-line graphics cards like NVIDIA, enabling immersive gaming, high definition video rendering, smooth virtual reality, and artificial intelligence processing. And the ultra thin enables the performance of sleek machines. Now consumer, you can do anything when memory is in everything, from VR headsets, smart watches, ultra HD TVs to everyday kitchen appliances. Consumers want to be wowed. Devices must connect, share, store, and do more than ever before. Micron's consumer solutions help them do just that. So in terms of the consumer applications, gaming consoles, Micron has the highest performing graphics memory when it comes to gaming consoles, and all the high powered gaming consoles use Micron graphics memory. So wearables, from smartwatches to fitness devices and AR/VR headsets, wearables leverage Micron's ultra small, low power memory and storage to deliver new and more advanced features. They're also innovating in places like the set-top box, digital TV, home automation, and digital imaging. Industrial Internet of Things. Industrial devices need industrial grade memory. So, Industrial Internet of Things is transforming the world of manufacturing, extending automation and connectivity beyond traditional factory walls, and driving strong demand for more data acquisition, communication, real-time analytics, and data-driven decisions across a wide range of industrial verticals. So Internet of Things gateways and edge servers, industrial automation, for example. At the heart of industrial automation are industrial PCs and embedded boards, which rely on Micron's wide portfolio and platform level support to accelerate time to market with confidence. Also, surveillance, logistics and transportation, healthcare, for example. Advances in AR enabling a new era of medical devices, accelerating diagnosis, monitoring, and treatment down to the individual level. Micron's industrial portfolio covers our customer needs across the board. Retail and machine, and also aerospace and defense. Mobile, unleash the full potential of 5G and AI. Mobile applications. Micron's mobile products are specifically designed for faster, more efficient access to data balancing demands for storage and computational power with the size constraints, cost effectiveness, and battery power. Today's 5G-enabled smartphones feed massive amounts of data through complex processing engines. Seamless user experiences demand a holistic approach to memory and storage, requiring increased bandwidth, lower latency, and power efficiency. Unleash the full power of 5G with Micron's leading memory and storage technology. So in terms of mobile applications, smartphones, tablets, wearables, 5G, virtual reality, and artificial reality. So networking, next generation bandwidth. So networking applications. We live in a connected world where communication is key. The network brings computers, devices, vehicles, and people together. So this is helping out in 5G infrastructure, data center networking, storage connectivity, edge compute networks. For example, as edge computer networking devices communicate with each other in the data center, Micron memory provides the performance and bandwidth to analyze data in real time, and they're also helping out in network security. And lastly, servers, from exabytes to zettabytes. Data is the currency of the modern world, holding the answers to our most pressing questions. Servers collect, process, store, share, and stream this precious commodity. So this is dealing with accelerated solutions, cloud, enterprise, hybrid cloud, edge gateway servers, and high performance computing. The highest performing computing machines in the world are powered by Micron products. Today's high performance computing machines are working to solve the mysteries that have so far eluded mankind, cures for diseases, mapping the galaxy, and discovering the building blocks of atomic structures. Also, artificial intelligence and machine learning. You got a minute and a half, Kev.
All right, jumping into reportable business units. We got Compute and Network Business Unit, covers our DRAM and NOR flash solutions. For computer networking, graphics, and cloud servers accounted for about 40% of revenue. The Mobile Business Unit, as its name implies, this business unit focuses on the memory and storage for mobile devices, accounts for about 28% of revenue. The Storage Business Unit accounts for about 16% of the revenue, solid state drives and other storage components. And then the Embedded Business Unit covers memory storage for automotive, industrial, and consumer edge embedded markets, about 13% of the revenues. We got a quick breakdown of Q3 and Q2 revenues by business unit, as well as Q3 from last year. I want to focus in on the year-over-year change between the business units, give you a second a chance to absorb that. And then as we move forward to the fundamentals, we can take a look at this chart of kind of their cash position from 2005 up until 2021. In the right direction, trending up and to the right, the way you want to see it. Their net income for the quarter was 1.735 billion, a 116% increase year over year for Q2, and then the EPS
15 seconds
for the quarter ending was 1.52, 114% increase year over year, and then their revenues were again up 36% year over year, and that's what we have for our first 15 minutes.
The buzzer beater right in time. All right, Bulls. There's a lot of There's a lot of information packed in that 15 minutes. I respect it.
Man, what? I swear I was gonna say the same thing.
There's a whole lot of information. I feel it. I feel it. I know David ready. You ready, bro? I'll start when you start, my guy. You on mute, bro.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, so I'm here for the bear case for Micron. I'll get right into it. So with everything you heard from the bull case, I want to encourage you to not take things at face value, to add context to it. Because what you just heard was a general overview of the industry and what the industry has coming up in terms of innovation, in terms of memory storage. So we'll get down to the specifics of what that looks like on the bear side for the company, not the industry. So here's their leadership team. And one thing I will say, the Bulls did a great job of highlighting their leadership team and how well and how much experience that they do have within their experience within technology and memory storage. So their leadership team is really good. I will give them the tops up on that. And just to give you a general overview again of what the company does, they manufacture, they create, they distribute, and sell memory storage devices. Again, they operate in 4 segments: compute and networking, mobile business, storage, and embedded. And then their main products are DRAM, NAND, NOR, and 3D XPoint. And then they also work in terms of 5G, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and autonomous driving. So those are different other industries that they're cross-merged in, right? So that can be a good thing potentially from a company, because we see that they're horizontally integrating themselves amongst other different industries, which is great. You want a company that has multiple ways of generating revenue. So that can be a positive. So I'm going to break this presentation down in 2 ways. First, I'm going to address the traders, and we're going to do technical analysis and evaluating that. And then we'll get into strictly fundamental analysis. So we'll start for the traders. First thing I would like you to pay attention to is this black line going down. That is what we call a death cross. A death cross is typically an indicator of a bearish trend. But keep in mind, when you're using moving averages, they are a lagging indicator. So that means price would have already dropped, as we see here, prior to the death cross. But if you bring your attention to the right, price is still significantly decreasing. Well, that's interesting, right? Especially since we're using a lagging indicator to use that as a metric. But I'll continue. In addition, the Bulls gave you an idea of where you want to enter on Micron. But as you can see, it's been consolidating at around 70. The next level after that is probably 64, but most likely it'll come down to 58, because as you can see here, there's a gap that needs to be filled. Very important to understand, gaps have to get filled on the chart. And if we're using leading indicators such as RSI, MACD, which will let us know what's going to happen before price action. So again, we spoke about lagging indicators in terms of the death cross using moving averages, right? Where the price will already drop because the indicator is lagging, where RSI is a leading indicator. So that it will tell you where price is going before the actual drop happens, right? So that's correlated to what we're seeing here, RSI and MACD. They're both showing a bearish trend. Now, if we were to compare Micron to its competitors, right here we see our death cross, and from that death cross to current price, right, that is a 14% drop. 14% drop from death cross to current price. Now, if we compare that to a competitor such as Western Digital, from death cross to current price is only an 8% drop. Right, so though the industry, that's an indication that the industry is probably going through a cyclical cycle where both are just starting to downtrend because their bull run has kind of tailored off, right? But the rate of change in which the price is decreasing is so significantly different, right? And there's a reason to it, right? We often hear this talk about a damaged chart and a damaged company, right? Or maybe a bruised company is where we want to look at Micron, not damaged, but a bruised company. So if we were to compare Micron to the S&P 500 and to other competitors such as DAI, which is Analog Devices, and the S&P 500 and Western Digitals, we can see that Micron, since about January, has been underperforming. So from a trading perspective, right, this confirms the bear case, right? They have been very bearish compared to the S&P 500, the overall market, and its competitors. Take it a step further. The option market is pricing in further correction on the downside. And again, this is for my traders, so we're just looking at it from a short-term perspective. The fundamental analysis will give you the thesis for the long-term bear case of Micron compared to other competitors. So again, the option market is betting that shares go down. We see that there's a high open interest for September puts. So that means that price is going to be staying below 62.50 from September moving forward. And I already told you there's a gap that needs to be filled at 58. So that confirms that as well. And that's correlated. Now, to my investors, let's talk about long-term, if you should or should not invest in this company. But one thing we're going to bring our attention to, and something that was not brought up, was the fact that most of the materials that Micron gets comes from China. In addition to that, 88% of their revenue comes from outside the US. Well, for those who do not know, there are tariffs and trade restrictions on technology to, number one, Chinese companies, which is why one of the companies that they work with here at the bottom, Huawei, 10% of their revenue comes from them, but they cannot actually sell to them because the US is restricting our technology to going to Chinese companies. This is a geopolitical issue, right, that can affect the company long term. So that's something you really have to pay attention to, be understanding of. In addition to that, there are tariffs. So they're gonna have to be taxed more for exporting those products. Well, what is that gonna do as a company? That's gonna increase their manufacturing cost. And that means that how much money they put into making their items, they're gonna have to increase that number. They're gonna have to increase their manufacturing costs because they're getting taxed more. Well, what does that do? That makes them have to increase the actual price of the product, which now makes them less competitive in the industry that's already super competitive, such as the semiconductor industry. So we're in the semiconductor industry, where it's already very competitive in any market you look at, or any segment of the industry market. Now you're telling me your prices have to be higher because you're choosing to get 88% of your revenue outside the US in a government or a cycle where, number one, Biden's attempt to work with China is actually worse than it was with our former president. Biden has not lifted the tariffs on China like he said he would. So we're still dealing with that. And this is a company that's going to be hugely affected by that. And in addition to that, China just came out in July and said that their economy their increase in terms of their GDP going up is decreasing. So China is not being very profitable right now. That's going to affect China's supply chain. And again, Micron gets most of their materials from China. And we're already dealing with a supply chain shortage in the US. So a US company that gets most of their materials from China is dealing with the issues there and their decrease in terms of economic productivity. Not only that, you're dealing with the domestic supply chain shortage. That's not a good cause. Now, they spoke about acquisitions, right? They have 14 acquisitions that Micron has made. Well, their competitor, Western Digital, only made one. You tell me what's easier to vertically integrate, 14 companies or one? In addition to that, from an operating efficiency standpoint, it costs a lot of money to vertically integrate 14 companies. And let's say you do, when acquiring and merging those 14 companies and hopefully vertically integrating them, will they be able to yield you a profit? That is something that has to be answered, and we didn't get that from the bull case. From a fundamental standpoint, right, we want to talk about return on equity. When we're talking about return on equity, we're looking at, were we able to generate a profit for shareholders? And then return on assets, we're talking about generating a profit from assets. Well, that is trending lower. The return on equity is trending lower, and it has been since 2017. And return on assets is trending down as well. Operating income has trended down significantly, and gross profit margins are decreasing. So yes, they are rich on cash, which is a great thing, but it's not just being able to have money. You have to be able to, again, those dollars for that company should be looked at as other employees, right? So if they have other employees that quote unquote are working for their company, it should be yielding a return. And we don't see that really coming out of Micron, right? Their revenue, there is a high demand in this industry, but let's not correlate high demand for an industry to high demand for a company. They have competitors such as Analog Devices, Western Digital, and Intel that have bigger market caps than them that are able to meet that demand if necessary. And again, at least Intel is more domestic and we don't depend on China for most of our materials and have to lean on them to make sure that we're able to be productive or have high productivity in terms of a company. Now, when we're talking about cash conversion cycle, I want to give you a little context so you can understand this. In the company, you have cash. That cash is used to buy inventory. That inventory is then sold and you get directly cash from selling that inventory, or it turns into accounts receivables, right? Net 30s, net 150s. And then from there, those net receivables or those receivables are then converted back to cash, and that cash at the end is more than what you start off with. What we're seeing here is though a company rich in cash not able to convert that cash, which correlates to why their return on asset, return on equity has been decreasing. It's not enough to have cash. It's not enough to have assets. What are you doing with them? And are you able to get a profit from them for your long-term investors to continue to get appreciation and yield? Any stock that you own should give you appreciation and yield. That's just a big word for yield, a dividend. Appreciation, upward value of the asset, right? We have a bearish asset that has an okay yield. I think their dividend is like 10 cents, right? Not much, but their cash conversion is going down. So a company that's rich in cash isn't able to do anything with all that cash. That's not good for you, a long-term investor. Now, another thing, they are a company that sells mostly in devices. So therefore, their biggest asset is their inventory. But what we see is as their inventory is actually increasing, their net income is decreasing. For those who do not know, that shows that a company is not able to meet demand. And if they are, they're not able to yield a profit. So this company that is continuing to buy inventory is not able to get any sales from it. Again, that correlates to the return on asset, return on equity. Again, we're going into the fundamentals of a company, and this is what's going to show the bearish case long term. So they're telling you to buy leaps on a company that fundamentally is not able to show that they can sustain what they're currently doing, right? In addition to that, let's just compare it again to their competitors. Let's say I'm wrong. Well, let's see what the big boys say. 90% of institutional ownership is in competitors, as opposed to Micron. We have 90% institutional ownership compared to 73%. So if you don't believe us, the retailing trader, what do the whales say? In addition to that, I want you to bring your attention here. One of their products that they sell, they will not be selling anymore. They sold their factory in Utah. So these 3D point devices that the bull case didn't bring up, by the way, they're not getting any sales or any revenue on that. That is stopping in March 2021. So recently, right? They're not, so what happened to all that inventory that they had? What are they doing with it? You're just sitting on it and not yielding any profit. That's going to help your return on asset ratio. And their biggest, as we heard from the Bulls, their biggest revenue driver is going to be getting a price fall from 5 to 10% in Q4 2021. If that doesn't say a lot, I don't know what does. So a company that's already having issues with supply chain, dealing with China, having to get hit with extra taxes, deal with tariffs, deal with trade restrictions, isn't able to get return on asset, return on equity. I hope they're buying back shares. That's the only way you as the shareholders are going to get value from this company, because they can't generate any revenue and their operational activities aren't consistent for them to continue to grow their market share. Growing the market share and stealing market share from other competitors is what they need to do. All they're doing is buying other companies and getting 14 acquisitions and accumulating more assets, knowing that they can't even get a good yield on the current assets that they have. Says a lot about the company. So I'll give them this next 45 seconds to figure out what they're going to do for the rebuttal, but I look forward to hearing your reply.
right, that's time. Now it's time to really get in the kitchen and see, who did the real homework for real, for real. So, Bulls, y'all got 3 minutes to give y'all rebuttal, and I will start when y'all start.
All right, so I'm gonna jump in a little bit on some chip security. But before we jump into that, just a few items to rebut on. We are moving away from 3D X-Point, and we'll be moving to CXL, Compute Express Link. We'll be talking about that in our 2-minute rebuttal. You did mention that in the short term, you're expecting price to go down a little bit. If you will remember, I did say wait for that September quad witching. So wait for September, October, give it a little bit more time to marinate, a little bit of time to step in at a better price. And just because something is difficult doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile endeavor. You pointed out 14 acquisitions versus 1. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're all bad acquisitions, or that because it's difficult that it shouldn't be done. Again, we did what we had to do to expand our portfolio. But now going into chip security with their chip level
Hold on,
security.
Kev. One last thing. He mentioned that the demand for DRAM was decreasing. The compound annual growth rate for DRAM is actually 28% through 2023. So a huge increase in demand for DRAM. Go ahead.
All right, so with chip security, we're working to integrate security into some of the offerings. As more and more devices come online and process sensitive information on the edge, there's definitely going to be a need for more efforts to ensure control measures live in the heart of processors and in memory, and not just in the code. With their chip level security for edge devices, hardware-based root of trust guarding 5G enabled devices against unauthorized access and malware. That's what Authenta provides. And by placing security measures within the memory itself, it becomes harder for hackers to slip in unnoticed and wreak havoc at IoT endpoints.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Dave mentioned that, the industry was going through changes and not the company. But if you go back to that last slide, Kev, this is a groundbreaking innovation here with chip level security. A lot of chips in the industry don't provide that. And we've witnessed a lot of hacks and things over the last year. So this is a huge innovation that's not only for the industry, but this specific company. Go ahead, Kev. So you can see here, this is the VP of Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion, Sherwan Connors. So representation of women on the board grew 50% fiscal year 2019 to 2020. Micron is striving to ensure all are represented across the organization. 15% of senior leadership is women. All right, you can go to the next one, okay? So they're taking, not only are they innovating in tech, but they're also taking steps toward diversity. And here there's 6 diversity inclusion initiatives: increase representation of underrepresented groups, drive equitable pay and benefits, strengthen our culture of inclusion, advocate for racial and LGBTQ communities, engage with minority-owned financial institutions for cash management, and increase representation and spend with diverse suppliers. So not only are they innovating in tech, but they're also doing.
Fine, Dave. All right. Bulls gave their first rebuttal. Now it's on the Bear. David, I'll start when you start, bro.
I will rebuttal to their presentation that they just gave. They included some slides about diversity and inclusion. That has nothing to do with the company and what they are able to do in terms of you as a shareholder. So if you, the person that are listening to this debate, own shares of Micron, it's you that's gonna actually give the bull case on why you should probably stay in it, because we're talking ESG, geopolitical. It's people who are diverse owning shares that gives power. Not having a diversity, every company has diversity and inclusion. That's nothing new. So that is irrelevant as a fact, because all companies have diversity and inclusion. So I just want to throw that out there. In their presentation, the original presentation, they talked about how Micron is going to be stepping into the automotive industry, and they're going to be providing entertainment and chips for that. Well, I'm pretty sure they're not going to outdo AMD in terms of that, because I'm pretty sure AMD has a partnership with Tesla, and I'm pretty sure AMD works with Microsoft in gaming, and I'm pretty sure Micron does not have the competitive edge to compete with AMD. Now, we'll go over the technical analysis for that, but I'm pretty sure some of you are still holding your options for 2023. So I think you know what that looks like in terms of a long-term perspective, even a short-term perspective. So I would not be looking for Micron to have a competitive edge when it comes to automotives and gaming. That's not actually a bull fact. That actually helps my case because they aren't able to beat AMD. Micron won't beat AMD in gaming, neither in the automotive industry when it comes to embedding that. Another thing is the bull case has not been able to talk about the fundamental aspects of Micron at all. I'm still waiting to hear about why they're not able to get a return on their assets, a return on their equity. The only thing you brought up is share buybacks. So if you could please talk to those points about what the company plans on doing. Again, I like the innovation. That's the whole point we're doing it. It's a disruptive space. But what is Micron doing? And what are they doing operationally in terms of efficiency to let the people who are listening know that they should continue owning or holding these shares and buying these contracts after quad-witching? And again, the fundamentals of the company tells you what they're going to do long-term. So you could wait to September for the dip. But is that the bottom? Is that the base? I just told you about a gap that needs to be filled at 58. But what happens if another downgrade comes out from Morgan Stanley from Micron? They already have a death cross on their chart. By the way, that's a daily chart, not an hour chart. So you need to Google bulls. How long does it take for a company to recover after a 20% drop from a death cross? It takes more than the rest of the year. So if you buy after quad-witching, it won't actually help.
All right, boom. So got that out the way. Bulls, y'all got something? Y'all got 2 minutes worth of stuff to say?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yo, Kev,
indeed.
before you jump into the presentation, I just want to respond to some things you said. That argument was very misleading because Micron is not a competitor for AMD or Microsoft. They're not a CPU maker. They don't make central processing units. So that was very misleading. AMD uses Micron's memory and storage capabilities, right? So they're not competing in terms of the chip space, but they're also, AMD and these companies and these automotive manufacturers use Micron for memory and storage capabilities, not for their chips. So don't get misled by what was just said. But go ahead, Kev.
Yep, that was a pretty important point as well. Jumping into their industry partnerships, presence within the semiconductor industry is widespread, as I have DRAM partnerships with AMD, Xilinx, Intel, NXP, and Texas Instruments, to name a few, all collaborating to ensure the industry is able to march forward in lockstep to advance compute capabilities to be able to process ever-evolving needs of data-intensive applications and workflows. We have an overview with this chart of just a breadth of the industry partnerships that we have from AMD to Cadence and Synopsys. So that's in the design space as well, across the board and just across the industry in general. Again, utilizing a big chunk of Micron for their memory and storage capabilities.
And then also, NVIDIA's graphics cards use Micron's memory capabilities in addition to AMD having partnerships with Micron as well. So I know he said that, they're competing with each other, but they're actually working together.
As we jump into Compute Express Link, the industry standard in terms of how the CPUs, GPUs, ASICs, all those will be able to access memory at a faster clip. So that's lower latency, higher bandwidth, so that all the data-rich AI and ML will be able to access data faster and process richer and more complex tasks. So as we look at this chart here, we got Alibaba, Google, and Microsoft, heavy hitters in the cloud servers. Again, AMD, Broadcom, NVIDIA.
All right, you have to save it for the last minute. You got one more rebuttal, so just make sure y'all mano so y'all could get everything y'all got to get out. David, I'll start your two whenever you're ready, bro.
All right, so to the point that Micron uses AMD chips and uses, I think they said NVIDIA chips for their memory storage. Well, all companies in the semiconductor industry are against each other. Fun fact, that's like saying, oh, well, AMD and NVIDIA both work with TSM, so they're not competitors of each other. All this, the whole semiconductor industry is horizontally integrated, which means they all outsource things to each other in order to improve upon their operation and efficiencies. So that does carry a little bit of weight, but let's say you are correct, that I'm completely wrong and that my point of them being competitors doesn't exist. Well, if that's the case, then you still haven't explained Micron's ability to improve their operational efficiency. All you're talking about is the development in terms of technology. We know the technology is cutting edge, but there's also analog devices. There's also Western Digital that are doing all the same things that Micron is doing. So you have two other companies that are doing the same thing that have bigger market share. That does not help your bull case for why this company should be one for us to invest in. All you're doing is solidifying the fact why the industry is disruptive, why it's a part of ARC's top 5, and why we should keep our eye on it. Right, so, and we still haven't got to the point. Yes, you've acknowledged that 3D point is something that they're not including anymore. But this new technology, CXPI, I'm not sure the acronym. If they are including that, and they do have an increase in DRAM sales, why is their operating margin still decreasing? Right, if the compound annual growth rate is increasing, right, why is their revenue decreasing? Why aren't they able to meet supply and demand? If that's the case. Right. Again, you have to add context to it. We're just saying that, oh, their compound increase is going to increase this, that, and the third. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't contextualize to the company.
This is good right here. I'm liking this. Hold on real quick. All right, boom. So we got our last minute here. So make sure y'all got everything y'all got to get out. I'm going to leave the timer up so it's not no mistakes, no confusions for everybody in the audience. I am going to put the link to the survey in the chat so y'all can vote who had the better case. Make sure y'all vote. This is their last 1 minute each rebuttal. Bulls, I'll start when y'all start.
All right, go ahead, MJ. You can take us home.
So yeah, expected long-term industry DRAM growth mid to high teens, so the memory market is continuing to grow. He says something along the lines of, AMD using, Micron using AMD chips with no. AMD and NVIDIA are using Micron. They're partners and collaborators. NVIDIA and AMD are the chip manufacturers in the world, and they depend on Micron's memory. Right. And we also talked about the new technology that's coming out that is the industry standard that Micron has a lead on. Right. These other competitors that they're speaking of, NVIDIA and AMD don't use their memory for their graphics cards and the computer systems. So the competitors aren't in the, and go to that last slide, Kev. This is the Big Ideas tournament. And, they checked 13 out of 15 of those: deep learning, virtual worlds, automation, delivery drones, 3D printing. This is the turn.
Time. That's time. So that's all the Bulls get. We're going to hear a last little piece from David, and then make sure y'all get y'all final votes. And David, I'll start when you start, bro.
So again, that 13 out of X amount that they just hit on, that is, again, innovation that all companies that are just like them, analog devices, Western Digital, are doing. All the companies are checking that mark. The question you need to be able to answer for yourself is, which company is going to last at the end? And again, these companies don't move on technicals. Long-term, they move on fundamentals. Again, if we look at the 5 years, if you pay attention to these arrows, I know I slipped by it quickly before, but I want to show you again. You look at these arrows, return on equity, return on assets, the last 5, 3, and year are downtrending. So ask yourself, fundamentally, is this company going to last? Because we know the innovation will. And thank you, Bulls, again, for showing us that the innovation will. But to those listening, will the company last?
Man, y'all smoked that. I ain't gonna lie. That's another. This was a good semifinals for both rounds. So make sure y'all show them some love in the chat, man. These were some solid cases for a solid or maybe not so solid company. I'm not putting my bias on that. You feel me? But the poll is in the chat. So make sure y'all go ahead and vote. Show these guys some love. To each of y'all, I do appreciate y'all for showing up again prepared. I know it's not easy to do extracurricular presentations and doing stuff assigned on Sundays and stuff like that. It's outside of the box. You know, you're not getting paid for this. It's not like a super obligation that you absolutely have to do. So I definitely want to make sure that y'all feel appreciated just for putting the time in and putting this information together for all the cousins to have for free. You feel me? To come up with. So definitely appreciate y'all. Did y'all have anything to say to the people?
And keep learning, keep studying, keep getting better. You know, constant grind.
Shout out to the Bulls. This was dope. I appreciate you guys. I think you did a good job. Seriously. Hopefully this, like I said before, hopefully this one will be tight too.
Now you did your thing too, bro. Much respect. Much respect.
No, I could see this one being close too. You got anything for the people, Kevin?
No, I'm good. Just keep doing your thing, keep grinding. Get better every day.
Well, y'all heard it here, man. Make sure y'all doing y'all homework, y'all research. Again, I say it every week, but I cannot emphasize it enough. Even from the questions that I get in my inbox, I can still tell that people aren't really doing the homework. Like y'all want to know, oh, can it fall more? Oh, can it go up more? But the fundamentals are gonna tell the long-term story, which is the game that we're playing anyways. A lot of us are young. A lot of us are gonna have time to see investments live on and become 50, 100, 200x by the time, you know, we well in age, God willing. You feel me? So this type of research is what you're going to have to do to be able to figure out what companies are going to stand the test of time and what companies are here for the short. You feel me? Which is very, very important, almost more important than 5-minute charts and, you know, trying to figure out what's about to bounce and you could scalp in the next hour. That's not always useful because it's a dice game. You feel me? You playing probabilities at that point. When you start really doing fundamental research, you can figure out for sure what companies you know are going to be here based off the facts, based off the bull case, based off the bear case. So just make sure y'all taking the time to learn how to do this type of research. Outside of that, just take care of your loved ones, man, because it really is bigger than options. It's bigger than the stock market. It's people dying every single day. And, you know, that is relationships, like the relationships I've built with MJ, I built with David, not so much with Kevin, but even just from Sector Sundays, you know, knowing that I can call on him and, you know, tap in with him. Make sure y'all are having other conversations too, just checking up on people and really just vibing, just as people that are alike, trying to get money, trying to provide wealth, trying to build up your community. You know, it takes a community of us to really change how we're seen, change how our kids are seen, change the course of, you know, the path that we were put on by being brought to this country. That's a whole nother conversation that I'm not going to get into, but you know, it's really powerful, just relationships, period. So just make sure y'all are really showing love. I was telling these guys beforehand, and I'll share this. I'll share this on the YouTube. I was telling these guys beforehand, you know, just give me a second because I'm gonna try to get my energy together because I had one of my little homies that he got diagnosed with lymphoma at the age of 24, and he passed today at the age of 25. He's 25 years old and died of cancer randomly. It was like a rare form of lymphoma, stage 4 when he got diagnosed. and he didn't make it. And this is like one of the most energetic, loving dudes that I knew, and I know him for a while. I've known him since he was like 13 years old. So it just kind of hit me kind of hard, just thinking like, dang, you really don't know when somebody's gonna go. Even if they get diagnosed, the doctor might say, hey, you know, you might have a year, you might have whatever. They just guessing. You know, they're making an educated guess. So you just really don't know how long people are going to be here. So just make sure you're showing love and really appreciating the people that bring value to your life, and try to bring value to other people's lives as well, so you can leave your mark and your legacy. You feel me? But I'm not gonna get too crazy with it. I definitely love all y'all that showed up. I appreciate y'all. And on that note, we out, y'all. Y'all have a good night, man.
Peace and abundance, everybody.